I'm curious about the culture. When Enron went bad, and I shouldn't classify Enron all as entirely going bad, but let me just say it that way. When Enron started the path toward bankruptcy, was there a culture of endemic greed that was behind it? Was it pressure because some of the ideas didn't work in practice? Was it a combination of both? Was it something else?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I sometimes sense when people talk about greed and profit that they're thinking of four-letter words to substitute for those concepts, and I don't know that that's appropriate. I think that again, capitalism. I'm a believer in capitalism, and obviously institutions need to make money in order to sustainably employ people and provide necessary products. So I don't think I don't think those concepts are bad in and of themselves. Mm-hmm. I don't think of Enron. I mean, there was any more than any other institution, for-profit institution that I've been in before or since. I don't know that Enron was any more focused on making money than any other institution. I think that sometimes it set targets and made promises around what its performance that were oftentimes unrealistic, and I think that led to some of the adverse behaviors that have become so prominent over the years in the news. I don't think it was I think it wasn't as sick a culture, I think, as some people believe.
Even with the performance management system that,
and I think the
egregiously rewarded traders with upwards of $5 million in bonuses.
Yeah, although, I can understand, I'll maybe set aside some of my own personal judgments for a moment. Enron wasn't unique, in its compensation structure, particularly in sort of the commodities business then or now. I mean, I think we have seen with the financial crisis, probably, salaries that make some of the, the compensation at Enron look like peanuts.
Goldman Sachs.
Right. So I don't think, I think there is sometimes this perception of sort of, the uniqueness of Enron. Enron wasn't unique. I mean, there were plenty of other companies in the energy space that, basically did exactly the same things, as Enron, other than, maybe not some of the Andy Fast style behaviors. So I'm not sure. Again, I mean, I could sit here with a personal judgment that somebody, who's trading electricity futures who makes $5 million probably isn't contributing enough, that much to society to warrant that level of compensation. But that is still today, a very common sort of compensation model. For people who are engaged in those businesses. You also mentioned the performance ranking system. I think that also sometimes gets a bit exaggerated. I think there's I think it's somewhat myth that Enron every year drove out the bottom 10-15% of its workforce. My sense in practice was that just didn't happen. That there was a ranking system. Actually, I could be wrong on this, but I believe that they sort of borrowed the ranking system from General Electric, and I know that there are many other companies, that still use a similar, ranking system in order to, I guess to classify, people for sort of reward purposes and also for remediation. There, people weren't just tossed out if they were in the bottom 10 or 15% at Enron. They were given, again, my experience, an opportunity to improve, their performance. But I think there was a belief that, in time, if people aren't able to measure up to the performance standards of a company, they needed to look elsewhere, for employment. But I don't think, again, I think there is sort of a lore, that's been attached to the Enron ranking system that goes far and beyond the actual reality.